Testing. Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your hosts, Luke Lore, and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, joined by my big brother and yours, the host of Season Gaming's Bitcast, Mr. Ainsley Bowden.
Good evening, fellas. I can't wait. I'm a little annoyed tonight. I'll get through the intro here, but I came prepared tonight to talk about PlayStation being dead.
You didn't come prepared.
I did. I did very prepared. And PlayStation,
I have all the leaks about PlayStation. You guys want to know them?
Well, I'm really upset because I was going to talk about PlayStation being dead, and then Jason Schreier went and broke my news, which was another exclusive is delayed indefinitely by PlayStation.
Dead.
I mean, it's just
dead,
dude. Dead. It's ridiculous. So
honestly,
anyway, good evening, everyone. Good to be here. I hope you guys are doing well. And yes, I'm here.
There we go. We are also joined by host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, Mr. Joseph Moran, aka Mr. Badbit. How are you, sir?
Beware, there are God of War Ragnarok spoilers. I've seen a screenshot and I am unfazed.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you, in an age of spoilers and leaks and the MCU and the build to Infinity War Endgame and then everything after, I still loved everything that's ever been spoiled for me. I've still loved. And it's less and less. It's like, all right, I get it. I got to mute my words, but whatever.
What's the biggest thing that's ever been spoiled for you guys? Sorry, Joe.
I think maybe The Last of Us or Endgame. I know. I knew what happened. I didn't know how it happened.
I don't know what could be spoiled in Endgame. Like what the hammer?
Well, the snap. Like Tony. It's been a minute. Tony dying at the so I knew that, but I didn't know how he gets them. Last of Us Part 2, and again, it affects me not honestly. Last of Us Part 2, Last of Us Part 2 really after that one, nothing affected me because that scene happened and it still impacted me, if that makes any sense. Gotcha. I'm sorry, your message distracted me.
Sorry. Last of Us 2 was one for me. I felt pretty similar to you, Joe. And then the end of Halo 4 was spoiled for me, which, as you can imagine, being the Halo guy I am, made me livid. In fact, I was adminning a forum at the time where we had a video game section, and the guy who I've told this before, the guy who spoiled it for me, I literally deleted his entire account and every post he ever made.
Dang,
really?
Ainsley Bowden.
Yeah, he had 9,000 posts. I was like, I have snapped him out of there. He's done.
Damn. Harsh. Now, do you regret that in any way now?
Absolutely not.
There you go. A man with conviction. Can we just talk about how the Hulk never gets any credit for Avengers Endgame?
Bringing him back?
Yeah,
I haven't
gets
seen
credit.
it.
Shut up. You've never seen Avengers Endgame?
No.
He's not into superhero movies.
I'm not into it.
That's
man.
that's like one of the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Like if
it's
you were going to watch,
yeah. No, I watched the first Avengers. When it first the first one came out, and it was a mega hit, right? Like everyone was raving about it, and I watched it with my stepdaughter's boyfriend. He's like, "You got to see this movie." So we watched it, and I was like, "Really,
man?" That was a moment where your stepdaughter's boyfriend.
This is the excitement.
He was trying so bad.
He's no longer her boyfriend anymore, so it don't really matter.
I don't know who got the raw end of that.
It's weird because Luke boycotted Black Panther. I forget the reason, Luke.
Shut up! God damn it! Oh my gosh!
He was busy planning something with some people. You know what I mean? I don't know what it was.
Some day in January or something.
People are like, I don't like Black Panther because it's racist. Shut up! Shut up!
Oh God! Wakanda Forever looks magical.
It does look good. It does look good.
So good.
Oh man! Well, guys,
Did my audio fix, guys?
No, you are actually getting a little fuzzy.
It is correcting. Yeah.
It is correcting. Okay, good. That's great.
All right, well, that's good. shout out to the people in chat. Hello, thank you guys for joining us. Our main topic of discussion this week will be, of course, the top 5 studios from Microsoft, from Xbox proper. But before we get there, guys, we've seen, kind of piggybacking on our kind of leak conversation. Do you guys count that as good content? I'm curious. When you see it, is it good content to you? Leaks.
What is?
Just leaks in general. Like you're talking about God of War Ragnarok leaks. That's how you opened our show.
Yeah.
I feel like there's nothing you could tell me about God of War Ragnarok that would ruin me. Now, that's an ignorant statement because I don't know, right? But like you told me the big reveal, Joe, before I played God of War, because I asked you to, mind you.
Yeah.
It took away nothing from my experience. Took away nothing.
I'm the opposite.
What do you mean, Ains?
I'm the opposite in that I get severely angry if something is spoiled for me. Yeah. Like I really like it. It does. I guess the easiest way, it does detract from the experience for me if something is spoiled.
So if you had found out that like Master Chief died in Halo Infinite ahead of time, that would have hurt.
That would have hurt me to my soul. Yes.
Okay, so here's another. So spoilers about games, no. What about like a spoiler on, like, for example, I know you're not into it, but just sake of like the EA is working on a Black Panther game.
I think that's a leak. Is that what you're referring to as kind of a leak, Luke?
Yeah.
Leak Luke.
Yeah, I guess so. I see. To me, I don't feel like that's as much of a leak as, say, the people that were posting Last of Us gameplay.
Sure,
which
true. There's levels.
Special Nick did that from Xbox era and then deleted it, and I felt that was weird. That was an odd. Like, you put it out there, dude. Why are you deleting it? That was an odd choice. Nonetheless,
it's really weird what's going on at Sony. It seems just from the rumblings, but yeah, like I'm trying to think about that as well. Like, is spoiling gameplay like what is okay for like the leaks and rumors, right? Like showing Joel from The Last of Us fighting, whatever, is that hurtful? Or is like showing off, like, for example, like Starfield, before that was announced, like, that they're working on this new IP or whatever, like, where are the boundaries that you set, I guess?
See, I don't feel like it is a bad thing. Like, finding out that a Black Panther game is in development, that does not strike me as a leak. That doesn't strike me as anything other than reporting.
Sure.
To me, a leak is when you see gameplay or whatnot, particularly in the sense of showing gameplay that may not be optimized or whatnot. Like, that to me is a little bit shady. And now I'm again referring to the Last of Us thing, but like Jeff Grubb long ago talked about the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. He knew about that well in advance. I don't feel like he took away anything from anyone by telling us that it existed. I don't think he hurt anything by telling us that there's a Black Panther game. I don't feel like an experience can be detrimental. We knew that the Xbox Series S was a thing kind of anyway, but I do think, and because I'm trying to counterpoint my own logic, had we found out that the Xbox would have been shown at E3 20 or Game Awards or whatever ahead of time, that would have been detrimental, because that moment was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am, Luke. I'm pretty similar there. I think that it's hard to gauge, right? And I think there's definitely levels. Like, as you were saying about the what Grubb reported on about the Black Panther game, I was agreeing with you as you were saying it, right? And then as I'm agreeing, I'm thinking, but what if in coordination with this new Wakanda Forever trailer, a week later, the developer, the studio, EA, whatever, had a big reveal plan to kind of build off of that. And now it's not going to have the same weight as it would have if nobody knew about it.
Yeah. And like, so like, to me, I'm like, there has to be a difference between, like, I think the Star Wars Old Republic leak, that it's indefinitely delayed at this point. That's actual reporting, though. We not like the source. That's actual reporting where it's like, okay, that's information that I feel like we should know about.
Based on 2 firings, based on probably behavior that wasn't good, or because there was trouble. Like, what do you mean?
Right. I mean, whatever the case is, like, that game is no longer in development at this point in time. So as fans, we could kind of go, okay, well, that's a bummer. but
I see. Taking something away
we're not
versus
always waiting for it anymore, you know? And we're constantly waiting for whatever game. So like that I think is fair, but yeah, there is something to me, and I would love to get like one of the folks that do constantly leak on my show to talk about it, because I'm like, where do y'all draw the line? You know, you have all this information that you're holding on to. When is it simply because it's a slow news day? Like, I don't know. It's such a morally gray thing, because in theory, you're taking the excitement and the joy from all the people that are working really hard on this game to announce it on their terms. Now it's out and they're like, damn, like I couldn't tell, you know, my wife I was working on Black Panther, you know, like that type of stuff.
So we heard that directly from people at Xbox against Brad Sams when he revealed the Series S. I mean, literally, they had people that came out and said, we don't appreciate this. Like, we've been working on this for years, waiting for our moment to talk about this console, and it's out there now. And no matter what they do, they can't recreate that first moment, right? It's kind of like unwrapping your present on Christmas.
Once you know what it is.
Yeah, once you know what it is, it's not the same as the surprise that, you know, when you first pull the paper off. So I don't know. Yeah. I definitely feel there's levels to it, depending on what it is and things like that. But I generally, as a general overarching statement, I know we talk about this offline a lot. I'm not big on the whole leap culture, because the problem you have too is that there's a one-upmanship, right? So these guys,
what I don't like.
Yeah, they're these guys that get a name solely because of leaks, or mostly because of leaks. Then they're sitting there trying to one up each other, and in doing so, to Joe's point, now it even further questions their motive and questions, okay, where do I draw the line of what I should leak? And again, I'm going to say this for the 9 billionth time, I realize, but as always, it goes back to driving clicks. That's what it's all about.
Yep. I think, because Joe, to your point about wanting to have them on, like I would like to have Special Nick on at some point. I should reach out, but like, yeah, where's the line? Because I've asked that to Jeff Grubb before on XEP. Like, where's the line? Too long ago to remember, but you are taking something away in a sense from a creator, from a developer, in some cases. Now, when the Black Panther game gets shown, that's going to be called, you know, that'll be just the article will read, the often rumored or the long time rumored Black Panther game has been revealed. That doesn't seem to me to be terribly disingenuous. The Knights of the Old Republic being indefinitely delayed or canceled, that doesn't seem to me to be terrible, right? Showcasing Last of Us gameplay, weird because it wasn't optimized. It's meant to be a remake. There's already I think the context made it worse.
The lack of.
Yeah. The lack of context is a really good way to say that. And the fact that it seemingly forced Sony to come out and put their own statement out of like, here's what actually is happening.
Which isn't something you should be proud of or brag about, which I saw some folks do. It's like, I did this. It's like, no, what you actually did was cause a team of people to genuinely lose sleep to make a response to people that are just going to yell at them for the next, you know, month or two until this game comes out. That's what you did. That's the fallout.
Right.
And now, yeah, go for it.
Well, counterpoint, not... I feel like we're talking around Special Nick or Jeff Grubb or something like that. So it's not Jeff Grubb's job to do their PR. It's not Special Nick's job to do their PR. Part of it is on Sony. And I'm trying to just counterpoint the logic. I'm not advocating it, to be very clear.
Yeah, I'm just and my way around it is just, I'm thinking about the human element. Like, I don't care what Sony has to say or what Microsoft has to say. I'm thinking about those people that, like the Xbox Series S, right? Like, I'm thinking about the people that really poured in their you know the love, tender care, all that stuff, and the moment's ruined, and now they're just gonna get yelled at. It's taken out of context. You're going to, for weeks now, have to, or even in some cases months or years, deal with toxic trolls. And it goes back to a point I think Ains pointed out a few weeks ago, which is just like, it's one of the reasons why all these companies are taking a second look at Twitter going, don't think this is worth it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this engagement sucks.
It's kind of sad, yeah. And for the people like us and our audience here, and the audiences to our shows individually, like we know that those are sounds on my high horse here, but generally speaking, we garner really positive audiences because that's the content we put out there. We've talked about that. But I don't think it's our audience kind of eating this up. But one thing I saw someone post, I forget who it was on Twitter, posted a poll yesterday, and they basically said, do you enjoy leaks or do you prefer it to be revealed by company or whatever, right? And it was like 85% said the company or whatever, right? And I was like, I said before the poll even took off, I said, this poll is going to be vast majority saying the company. And yet, whenever something leaks, everyone jumps on it and shares it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's you can't even, the people who are trying to drive clicks to their outlet, to their forum, to their YouTube channel, whatever it may be, to their Twitter account. I hate saying this, you guys know this, but it's hard to even fault them because it does drive endless engagement. And in this day and age, if you're trying to drive engagement, it's this kind of stuff that drives it more than anything.
There is a prominent leaker in the Avengers community by name of Miller, who leaks stuff all the time.
Do like all 14 people read that every week, or?
Anywho, and now you're gonna feel like a douche. And because I've gotten to know the humans that are working on the game, he damages their ability to make that game better every week, every time, and they are disheartened because there's data mining happening stuff on levels that they cannot, like the people making the assets, they can't they can't fix that. It's work from home, et cetera, et cetera. He damages that every week. And again, I consistently think of the human element, but I also go to the counterpoint, not his job. Unless he's doing something illegal. And he is, to your point, Ains, driving traffic to his content to make a living for himself. And the fault, right or wrong in the morality element, the fault is on Sony for not locking down this stuff better. Sure. Xbox for not locking down, Square Enix, et cetera. And it's just interesting to watch because it's a tough thing to navigate, right? Like the human element is
always lost.
Always lost, despite likely being the most important.
Yeah.
Because listen, if I knew Bloodborne 2 existed, which if you have any information, please call the hotline.
And Joe would like the leak. He doesn't need 85%.
1-800-trophyroom.com. Or that's a number of the website.
You will know, like I don't even have to leak it. You will know because I am fully engorged. If you know what,
nobody will know,
I'm saying.
Joe. Nobody will know.
You're right. It's best kept secret, I guess.
Look at you, little buddy. Little buddy.
I'm here. All right, I'll go back. but like, yeah, it's like if I had Bloodborne information and then I take a look at my podcast, I go, interesting. Yeah, it would be hard to pass up. But there is like this thing. It's like,
well, dude, I've heard that Siren song. I've talked to you both as a content creator.
Yep.
Oh, he lagged out.
He's gone, man. He's gone.
He's gone.
So I was gonna say, I'll jump in here while Luke resets or whatever he does. I was gonna say we both run Patreons now, Joe, right? So imagine like if you get a big scoop like that, say you get a Bloodborne something, you're like, oh man, we can put this in our Patreon or patron exclusive podcast. It's going to be a big show, etc. And then some Joe Schmo on Twitter comes out and says, Bloodborne 2 is coming, and Trophy Room's going to talk about it this week. And you're like, I'm still getting engagement, but damn, you took my moment from me. Like,
yeah, it's the leakers leaking for leaking type of stuff.
And whatever. We've talked about, and I don't want to name names or anything, but there are people in the gaming community, as we all know, especially people watching this show who exist on Twitter. Oh boy, Luke's killing us here. Luckily I have backups here. What I was going to say is that's the old one. Look at this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it works. What I was going to say is that there are people who have kind of gained their entire audience, top to bottom, from just leaking stuff. And I don't know. I think that sets a dangerous precedent. I know this is a weird conversation, but it's just a dangerous precedent, like I said, where sites and outlets and YouTubers are always trying to one up each other to find some piece of info that they can throw out first.
And some leaks are just wrong.
Yeah, and then you get into that. That's a whole nother ball of wax.
And then like, so we're entering this new sphere. It's like you had Sucker Punch have to come out going, we're not making a new Sly or Infamous game.
Yeah.
Just think about it slightly, and you know that doesn't make sense. Everybody relax. And then you had all the leakers going, oh, I got to go back to my source. It's like, guys, just take the L. Again, like how many times do we hear this year's the year for Bloodborne? And how much damage control or just like damage control PR that you have to do just a preemptive.
Because imagine like if,
right? It's crazy.
Yeah, just building on that, like the developers, right? Then you get people continually hounding the developers saying, where is this? Where is this? Why haven't we seen it yet? Why haven't you revealed it yet? And they have to come out and be like, look, we're not even developing this. Like, leave us alone. Like, yeah, I don't know. By the way, everyone, sorry that Luke got disconnected. Honestly, Joe and I feel it's a better show anyway.
Honestly, the pacing seems better.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
So and here's my question for you too. Is it also part of our faults for then reporting on said leaks?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's blame to go all around.
100%. Yeah. It's like a domino effect, right? Because then, and I've talked to you guys about this too, even on the site, it's like, okay, a leak comes out. You have to see, okay, is this leak spreading like wildfire? And a lot of times the big ones do, right? And it's like, well, now you have a decision to make of, do we try and get some of this flame and get some of these hits, right? And you're competing with 1,000 other sites that are jumping on it as well, and YouTube channels and podcasts and everything else. And then 2, is it even worth reporting on? Because if you need to have 2 things that you have to look at is 1, if you're a reputable site, you do have a reputation with publishers and developers and PR companies, etc. Do you risk damaging that? And 2, because you don't even know if it's real. And then you run the risk of being a site that reports on just any leak that happens. VGC, I'm going to call you out directly.
I thought we liked VGC.
We used to. I don't know what happened to them, but it's they're chasing the click game. So then you start to build yourself in the Kotakus, where just every nonsense thing that's out there is run as an article, and your site basically becomes a worthless pit of just nonsense. So
CJ for San Andreas is now in Stray as the cat. I feel like the internet needs to know that, Ains.
Like, imagine that, right? Someone took the time to think, okay, Stray is hot right now in SEO, right?
Yeah.
So someone said, okay, what can we find to capitalize on Stray and capitalize on a broader SEO? Grand Theft Auto is always huge. Someone search out if there's some type of Grand Theft Auto mod for Stray. They found it and they reported on that as a news thing. You know as well as I do, that's exactly what happened. Yep. And it's just like, and you're like, really, guys, this is what you're doing? Like, and sure enough, they probably got millions of hits on it.
Yeah. God damn, state of the industry. Luke messaged us. He said, let me see this. We just lost Wi-Fi. We'll fix it.
He said the sun was coming up and he had to quickly hide.
I think that's what it was, man. That's crazy. Oh my god.
He's sealed in his casket and he'll be back tomorrow. Okay, got it.
Okay. Well, you want to give him 10 minutes and then I could throw another topic out there. It's not that hard to.
Yeah, let's go. All right. What we talk about?
So, let's talk about The Last of Us Part 1. You've now seen it.
We have
all the stuff.
Yeah, and I saw one of the designers came. Oh boy,
is it?
Are we doing this? I did see one of the designers came out and made what should be an obvious statement, as we all talk about this, is the experience in actually holding the controller and playing that game for yourself on a PS5 is so drastically different from the PS3 or PS4 that it's not something that you can really experience, obviously, through a couple clips on YouTube or a leaked video or something like that. And that should be obvious, but that's kind of what, we've talked offline about is, yeah, of course. I mean, we trust that if you enjoy Last of Us, and for many, including myself, it's one of their favorite games of all time, why would you not want to experience it in the best fidelity possible? The $70 component is always subjective. There's plenty of people out there that if their favorite game, no matter what it was $70, they would pay for it if it was just a way to play it in a better fidelity. I mean, that's really not even a conversation point.
Yeah. And I feel like that gets lost on so many people, because for me, it's like I'm a huge Last of Us fan, so I'm gonna go buy this. Yeah. Just like how I buy literally every Star Wars. We have it digitally, we have it streaming, we have the Ultra 4K. How many versions of the Star Wars have I bought over my lifetime?
Yeah, think about the people that had it on VHS, then they got the special edition on VHS, then they got the DVD, then they got the special edition DVD, then they got the improved DVD with extra content, then Blu-ray came out, and then they got the special edition Blu-ray, and then they got the 4K. And it's like, yeah, if you love something, you want to experience it, especially a piece of entertainment. You want to experience it in its best form. This is going to be Last of Us's best form. To me, that's worth $70, period. I'm paying $100. Give me every aspect of that game you have. Give me that steelbook. Give me that art book.
Yeah, and the simple thing is, like, if it's not worth full price, because I'm not saying $70, just if it's not worth full price to you,
full price, yeah,
then it's not. And you don't need to grandstand. You just don't buy the thing, or you wait for it to be on sale. We don't have to like draw comparisons to try to dig on companies. It's really, it's kind of weird. It's a really weird like thing to make your personality. So like for me, I saw it, and truthfully, I took a look at everything. I'm like, from what I've seen right now, probably not worth full price. But am I gonna buy it? Yes, because I love The Last of Us. They know that, I know that. And what we always fail to realize, or we kind of just brush it off when we say, "Oh, this thing isn't for us." Brush to the side. It's like you're walking into The Last of Us for the first time because of the HBO show. Man, you want a good first impression. I think porting that thing over to PlayStation 5 or just rebuilding it from the ground up, probably where you want to start at. And I think what people fail to realize when talking about, I wanted Last of Us 2 gameplay in the first one. It's like, well, game design doesn't work like that. Like, great example, because we're both From Software fans.
Yep.
We always sound crazy to people when we're like, so what's the difference between Dark Souls and Bloodborne? Well, you don't have a shield in Bloodborne, and you can regen some health. And they're like, that's it? You're like, well, you don't understand how those two things drastically change things. Like how we were freaking out about in Elden Ring, how we get a jump.
Yeah.
And people are like, how is this big deal? You're like, you don't understand. Now there's another element, the boss fights. And like how that has to be, those design limitations or add-ons just build on that game. So how much of it, let's just say you just add prone, how much do you have to change from the original game to make that one design element worth it? And how much of the level do you have to change? Then you get into the thought of, well, how much am I actually playing the original Last of Us? And how much am I just playing a new game?
Yeah, agree. Agree. And I think
that allow that nuance now,
Well, I don't think most people understand that nuance, and that's not a shot at anyone. It's just that we're so close to that, and we cover that and talk about it on a daily basis. I think a lot of the casual consumers, especially the people who are looking to make a point, right, out of anything, they're not gonna bring nuance into the conversation. So I think you make an excellent point too about the Last of Us show, which is something that a lot of people forget, because what we know, right, is this is releasing September 2nd on PS5. There's a leak, go figure. We were just talking about leaks, that this is coming shortly after to PC. which also makes sense because now you've rebuilt it for PS5. So kind of the PC gamer who has modern hardware, right, can run it in kind of full fidelity, right?
Yep.
And like they've done with their other PC releases, it'll probably support ultra wide screen and all these other things. But both of those releases build up to the HBO show in early next year. And what we know of the HBO show is that it more than Halo.
don't hurt yourself. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay.
More than Halo, it looks like Last of Us is being very reminiscent of Last of Us 1 and that story that is told in that game. So yeah, I don't know. It just makes a lot of sense. And I think it's as simple as what you said right at the start, which is if you're someone who's either not interested in Last of Us, fine. If you're indifferent to it, or if you want to experience but not at full price, don't. It's not that difficult. But I don't think we need to have a diatribe for weeks on end about whether a remake is worth $70. We could do that every week. There are remakes and remasters sold every week for full price. I mean, all the time. Like, this doesn't have to be a conversation point. Sure, we've talked a million times about how Xbox has done their backwards compatibility, right, and increased resolutions and frame rate. Incredible. And it's an incredible not only an incredible engineering feat by their teams, but it's an incredible offer to consumers. Last of Us being $70 doesn't detract from that, and that, in my opinion, doesn't detract from Last of Us. They could be two separate things. PlayStation started to dive into the same thing. They have some older games now that run at higher frame rates and, you know, improve visuals and sound and everything else. And it's just like, it's okay. Value is subjective, and I think we just need to leave it at that. We don't need to dissect because at the end of the day, there is no definitive answer as to what is a $60 or $70 full price game versus what is not. There's no definitive answer to that question, period. Yeah. You can talk endlessly about it. So it comes down to personal value. If you,
fair enough.
That's about it.
And maybe, you know, to just have one slight dig, maybe when you have like that piece of product, you don't just randomly raise the price, you know. Meta Quest looking at you, bud.
That's a weird thing. In fact, Hogue, I know, just did he did a video right away on it because of how weird it is to mid life cycle while your platform is already technically underpowered in the marketplace, and you're going to increase it by a significant price amount. Very strange, very strange. But on better news, PlayStation talked about PSVR 2 this morning. I'm excited, man. It looks good.
Like it's taking some features from Oculus. So I love the mapping out the room. I love the the see-through mode. Looks insane because on Oculus it's impressive. It's kind of like you're seeing the world in dots, where this one's whoa, these cameras are actually, there's something else. I'm really digging the tech. What was the thing that spoke out to you the most out of that?
I think, and by the way, guys, I see a couple of people saying the Halo shit was great. If you enjoyed it, great. I would never take away anything from that. I just, I've said my piece on that. I won't go into a rant again.
If you like it, love it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I think we get too caught up. This is a whole complete sidebar now, but I think we get too caught up in definitives, right? People are like, it's either garbage or it's the best thing ever. And it's like, no, there's a lot of room between those two things. And a lot of it is personal and subjective. So if you enjoy it, awesome. Even better. Trust me, I wish I did enjoy it as much as others did. On PSVR 2, I'm excited about the technology kind of behind it. So it's got these usability features that we see in the Quest 2. I have a Quest 2. My wife does. I use it. The creating your own boundaries, seeing through it, that kind of stuff is very cool and good for usability factor. I am very excited about the resolution that it's going to be able to provide. It's much more of an HD experience or Ultra HD experience compared to the Quest 2. It's much more powerful. And that's because obviously it can rely on the PS5 as a processing partner. I also was very cool about how it has built-in streaming capabilities. I did not expect that. I did not expect that. So
that seems wild. I can't wait to read, because I was literally on the road while reading it. I can't wait to dive deeper into that, because that is one of the hardest things, I think, for people who want to again, like show people VR is that streaming element. So I'm very curious how they pull that off.
Yeah, it's cool, and I think I'll probably be doing some of that because it looks a lot of
Same.
fun. Gio Rio got a super chat in the house. Gio, good to see you, man. Big supporter of the channel and Big Cast. Appreciate you showing up for Cast Co-op, dude. 10 euro super chat. He says, hi, guys. When the PS5 patch for Last of Us 2 came out, did you guys play the whole game on PS5 again? I wonder how it will be to review because graphic-wise new, but the story experience is the same and the AI is better on Last of Us. So he's basically asking, one, did we replay Last of Us 2 on PS5? And two, do we plan to review Last of Us 1, even though really graphics, sound, etc., the experience is going to be mostly the same.
Yeah. I have not played all the way through The Last of Us Part 2 on PS5. As for the review stuff, and I am curious, actually, this is a great question going back to you because you run a site and you do reviews and you talk to Travis and argue with him sometimes about reviews. Which I paid him so much money and he only gave Xenoblade an 8. I needed that 7. I needed
I was trying to pay him to give it a 4 just to see the world burn, but it didn't work.
God damn it. How does he how dare he like something? But how do you think the reviews are going to be for this game? What's going to be the season gaming approach?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I don't think we've nailed it down. I think if anyone's going to review this for SG, it's actually going to be me. Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time, the first one. I adore that game to a level that is hard to describe. And I feel this is legit, and I know many people will get this. I feel a personal connection to Ellie and Joel in that game. It struck me in a way, and you can talk about the way it told its story and the way it kind of arced. You can talk about the beginning, which is one of the best openings in any video game ever made, in my opinion.
I think it is the best.
Yeah, and being a father, it struck me extremely strong. I think everyone here knows me well enough to know I've lost a child, and obviously that has an impact, reflecting on the game as well. So that game just means an awful lot to me. By the way, quick plug. If you do enjoy The Last of Us, we did a video a couple years ago of the greatest games ever made. We did a special series that we didn't actually continue with because it's an extremely large amount of work. But we did a 14-minute video on why The Last of Us is one of the greatest games of all time, extremely detailed. So if you like Last of Us, look for that video because I think you'll enjoy it. But Luke looks to be back. Let me finish this point real quick, Luke. So anyway, on the review, I'm not sure. I think I might do like a review impressions type thing where I do more of an article about the experience on PS5 versus the experience on PS3 or PS4 because I have played both. Not to really score it because the score, effectively, to Gio's point, shouldn't really change, right? This is going to be a better version of what we've already scored, and in my opinion, Last of Us is a 10. So, basically, I don't need a score. I would just like to write an article talking about the type of improvements you can expect in the experience.
Fair.
Yeah. And to answer Gio's question directly, I did not replay Last of Us 2 yet. I will, and I planned on doing it. I am just not the biggest fan of Last of Us 2.
That's really fair because you don't like so like if I don't like something, I'm not going back to it.
I want to try it just for the experience, like on PS5, but I just it's not my favorite.
And here's the thing, like I love it. Like I love Last of Us Part 2. The end hits me so hard every time. But like when people are like, I don't like it for this, that reason, I'm like, fair. And I do think the game's too long. So fair. Yeah.
It is.
Luke, we talked about how you pee sitting down and how it's hilarious to us.
Well, and I'm a very modern man.
I actually joked that you the sun came back out and you had to get into your casket and you would be back tomorrow. But
it's really good.
No,
I did. The glasses aren't helping you, by the way. I think they are, but they're not.
I did the the frustrating thing where you're on the clock and you're like, my tech's not working, and then like you're furious at everything. I'm sorry, guys, it's embarrassing. In truth, I'm not 100% sure what it was, but I was having to go through Spectrum and
frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating. I apologize. I don't know where you guys were outside of The Last of Us 2. Did you guys get to the main topic yet?
No,
nope. No, we were waiting for you.
So go for it.
Yeah,
I was being a good host, right, Ains? I was being a good host.
He was. And I'll just say, audio listeners, sorry about that. I know it was probably a little confusing listening to us through that, but we're all back and we're getting to our main topic now.
Indeed, we are. I apologize again, but I thank you guys for vamping and taking care of everything. Wish I hadn't said vamp. Now, gentlemen, a small exercise, if you will. Quick notes that you need to take while I talk. I know. While I talk for the next 20 to 30 seconds, if you would, write down as many Xbox Studios as you can off the top of your head without looking anything up.
Oh, we're supposed to do this too?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't have paper. You didn't tell me to do this.
All right, I got it.
Last week we were doing.
I'm gonna mute myself though because I got to type.
Now,
it's
for the sake of
one
discussion,
studio, 2 studios, 3 studios.
I wish you would mute yourself. For the sake of any discussion points, I will note that because Activision has not gone through, we're not going to count that as a first-party studio. That is not officially gone through, despite what some leaks and rumors might suggest that it's happening tomorrow. It's not. Yeah, we're not going to count Activision outside of a thought exercise. Oh, I'm sorry. Special Joe. I think when it comes to Activision, there's going to be some good like thought discussion points we could have as far as like, well, where would Blizzard rank in there? Where would Diablo as a franchise? But for now, let's hold off on that one. All right, I've given you a couple seconds, 30 seconds maybe or so. I'm going to tell you the ones that I have off the top of my head, and I would expect you guys to have done better. I feel like Ains is reading right now. Undead Labs, Turn 10, 343, The Coalition. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot who makes Forza Horizon. Nope, lost it. So yeah, I'm stressed out from the stuff down there. Playground, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And I'll stop there. Those are kind of the big five that carried for a bit. And I didn't include any Bethesda's in that. But if you think about it, it was Undead, it was Playground, it was Turn 10, it was Gears with the Coalition, and it was 343. And then you've got Rare. So those are kind of the six, just top of my head real quick. Because even now to this day, gents, I still don't think of Bethesda as Xbox off the top of my head without some thought process. So Ains.
So funny enough, you forgot what is arguably, well, them in 343, but their biggest is Mojang for Minecraft.
Which I still don't think of as Microsoft.
Yeah. And then you have the ones that I have that you didn't. So you have Compulsion. You have Ninja Theory. You have Obsidian. Bethesda Softworks. So now we're into Bethesda. You have Bethesda Softworks, ID Software, Machine Games, and I put ESO, but who makes it? You know, the not Bethesda,
ZeniMax.
ZeniMax Online.
Yeah, ZeniMax Online.
Yeah. So those are the ones I had that you didn't.
Okay, Joe.
I'm just gonna listen. Okay. 343, Coalition, Rare, Playground, id, Bethesda Softworks, Arcane, Ninja Theory, Obsidian, Machine Games. That's all
Arcane. How did I forget Arcane? They're like my favorite developer.
I know. I was surprised.
And Double Fine too. Someone said in chat. Mo said in chat.
Ooh. Good. Thank you, Mo.
Yep.
It's funny because I don't think very many of these names are synonymous with Xbox right now. And I think until they produce the big AAA exclusive, they are not going to be synonymous with Xbox. Mojang is a good example. Minecraft's not exclusive. I don't think of them as Xbox, right? I'm also not in that community. I often talk about those as being the niche communities, despite being huge. The Destinies, you know what I mean? It not a numbers thing, but in terms of the podcast.
I know what you mean. It's just funny when you hear Minecraft and niche, like
it is
like the broadest game in the world. But
so I don't think that I don't think internally I go synonymously with them with Xbox at this point in our Xbox pantheon. Do you guys have any that are absolutely 100% synonymous with Xbox right now?
343 because it's a big giant failure,
the obvious ones. 343.
Don't believe what Satya says; it's lies.
Turn 10, Playground. Yeah, Halo, Gears, Forza, right? Rare, I do, because Rare, in my mind, was huge news when they bought them that many years ago, right? And they produced what was it, Grab by the Ghoulies or whatever. So that was very big news at the time because you didn't see those type of acquisitions commonly back then. So Rare, in my mind, has been Xbox forever at this point. after the N64. But you're right. I think the others are pretty fair to say. Generally speaking, when I think Xbox, they don't pop up. I would say that ones like Ninja Theory, the 5 acquisitions they made in 2018, which are Ninja Theory, Compulsion, Obsidian.
We missed one.
There's 5.
Wasteland? Who makes Wasteland?
In Exile.
In Exile. We didn't have that one.
Yep. And see, they've got to your point, they've got 3 projects in the works. One is supposedly a big AAA, big budget game on Unreal 5, but we haven't seen it yet, right? So, so yeah, those ones I'm starting to in my mind associate with Xbox, just because that was a big moment at E3, and that's been 4 years now. But you're absolutely right when it comes to Bethesda. I still don't think about them a lot. Oh, Ash too. He said Tango GameWorks part of Bethesda.
Right. Too. That's right. Tango GameWorks. Ghostwire, right?
Ghostwire. Yep.
Okay.
I think it's like at 2 reasons, and the main one, not just like none of their games have come out yet or whatever, like for Xbox, or none of their big AAA games have come yet on Xbox's stage per se. I think just not enough of them have. Like, there will be a time, just like with Rare, like I now think Rare is Microsoft. And I've been thinking of them that way since Sea of Thieves. But if you asked me back in the mid 2000s, I'd be like, what? That's weird.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Give time. These will be like, of course, Obsidian. Remember when there was a time when Obsidian wasn't owned by Microsoft? Like, we'll have those conversations. So I think just in time. I also think sometimes I think we get caught up on who's going to get acquired next, that we kind of lose the nuance. We lose the fact that they already have so much, and we should be kind of celebrating these folks.
Because you mean we focus on the next acquisition versus what's already there?
Yeah, exactly. We're like, we're joking around. There's some people who are just like, Platinum Games is looking for Xbox for, their next exclusive, leak rumor, speculation. And like, we're making fun of some folks going, well, maybe they should just outright acquire them because, Platinum isn't doing that great. And maybe this is the push that needs. Like, shut up.
Right.
And by the way, they should not acquire Platinum.
No one should. Maybe they should.
That looks like it's a mess of management.
Has been for a long time.
So yeah, because like, and even while making this list, I was like, I'm the PlayStation guy here, so I'm like, like I don't know any of these studios that can match the caliber of my Sucker Punches or Naughty Dogs, and I'm like, well, Machine Games, shoot,
Obsidian Sucker Punch was a weird flex for that discussion.
I love Sucker Punch. How
come on,
dare you?
Please see episode 29, Cast Co-op. We went into that in depth.
Yeah.
By the way, episode 30 tonight, boys. I forgot to mention that. Cheers.
Our podcast now has knee pain suddenly. Like Ninja Theory, like, damn, that studio's fantastic. Like, whew. So there are so many talented studios within Microsoft that, I don't know, maybe I feel like don't get highlighted enough.
I agree 100%. I just think it's a weird conversation because we've been hearing for even a couple years now, where's all the output? Where's the output? Right? We keep hearing about where are these games from Xbox Game Studios, but when you take a step back from that conversation and you think, okay, the games that were already in development by these studios, which were generally speaking smaller budget or kind of in post production at the time. So you think about games like Outer Worlds. You think of Wasteland 3 released, right, by In Exile. You think about those types of games, and then you think, okay, when they got acquired, as we know, In Exile, for instance, Obsidian, these companies, Rare even just expanded. So they're in new studios now. They're hiring up. The teams are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Playground, by the way, was the other one from 2018. So Playground's expanded substantially, right? Now working on Perfect Dark, as we know. So you think Fable. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's the other. We just forgot the other studio because we haven't seen anything of it. Is what's Perfect Dark?
Quad A. It's the Quad A one.
It's the Quad A one. Gosh.
Yeah.
That one.
I'm drawing we got 3
Square,
people
no,
who talk
Crystal
games every
Yeah,
day.
it's Crystal Dynamics. Like
Crystal
I
Dynamics
want to
is
say
making
Crystal
it.
Dynamics, but it's
Chad, help us out. Thank you.
I forgot.
Initiative. Thank you, Jupiter.
Initiative.
I'm sorry, I'm befuddled from my tech issue. That's
So, my
problem.
point is that these studios, right? When you get acquired and you're like, okay, over the next 2 years, you're going to start hiring up, you're going to move into a new studio, you're going to do all these things, and then the pandemic hits, and it's like, well, you can't work in your new studio. Everyone go home and figure out how to make a game from there. It's not really a surprise that we haven't seen these big AAA projects from these studios yet, because in reality, they've only probably had a realistic 2 to 3 years to work on them, and you don't create a new AAA IP in 2 to 3 years. You just don't. So it's not really a surprise, and I think that in the next couple years, and I realize people have been saying this for a long time now, but I truly believe that in the next couple years, you're going to start to see respect on these companies' names, like Compulsion, like hopefully Initiative, like Obsidian is a huge one. They're projects I'm most excited for. In Exile as well, tons of talent there, just never had the budget to really make what they wanted to make, and now they have the budget and the support to do so. So I think you will start to see that. It's just because of the timing, because of the pandemic, because of circumstances, we just haven't gotten there yet.
I think that's a very good and salient point to make, because for all the talent that's there, no game has been produced yet on the caliber of what we discussed in our previous episode, as far as a God of War, a Spider-Man. It just hasn't happened yet, at least caveat in the single player space.
And I was just going to say, not in that genre, maybe. Yeah, right. Because I would argue that despite the live service issues, we have to caveat Halo Infinite. I reminded someone the other day, Halo Infinite sitting in an 87 Metacritic. Like, it's a highly awarded game. The campaign was widely recognized as being excellent. Forza Horizon 5 was the highest rated game last year. Flight Sim, whether you like it or not, second highest rated game last year. Psychonauts 2 was like the third highest rated game last year. Microsoft killed it last year. So
not exclusive though, but I think that's why people don't think of it.
Agree. But to your point about, like, if you're talking about a single player narrative experience, I mean, God of War kind of stands on a different level, right?
Sure.
But even if you look at Horizon, Ghost of Tsushima, they've kind of created that AAA level that people are looking for, right?
All right, gents. So the exercise now, and this goes for anybody in chat as well. Time to rank your top 5. Hello to Tao, VG Docs, OBM. Good to see you guys. Brendan Myers, what's up,
Brendan,
buddy? Ash,
what's up, guys? Of
course. Good to see all of you in there. If you would take a moment and rank your top 5. I'll do the same once you guys take over talking for a minute. You already finished. You already ranked them.
Okay. I already ranked them.
Interesting.
It's none of them because Xbox is going out of business.
Oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. This guy's amazing.
I'm gonna make content just solely around that. I hate him. This is my personality now. Yeah.
Is this so? Let me be clear, because I forget what we did last 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. Is this in terms of what you think they're going to bring to Xbox, or just our favorite?
Favorite is in our thumbnail, but we were talking best. And so the best studios that are there. And I will remind you that much of the logic we employed last week had to do with legacy. Remember the Naughty Dog discussion last week? You guys defended Naughty Dog very vehemently against me.
Yeah.
And you cited its legacy. You talked about the Uncharted games. You talked about Crash
and we were right in doing so.
You were wrong. Naughty Dog is not.
Like, I texted Kyle. I was like, you should really listen to this co-op episode. It's really good. And he's like live texting me through it. And then it got to Luke with the Naughty Dog. He's like, Luke better shut his goddamn mouth.
Looks like Naughty Dog's not even top 5. I'm like, all right, we can just end the show because Luke doesn't know what he's talking about.
They were number 5.
It's still terrible.
They were number 5.
Still terrible.
But I was right.
No, you aren't. No.
I was right.
Why are you booing me?
Yeah. Why are you booing? I'm right.
And you wonder why your Wi-Fi even quit on you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here we go.
This is okay. So I was thinking off of. I was thinking off of like mine. The promise of some of these studios.
You kind of have to for some of them. You kind of have.
Yeah, like because like
that's not how I'm operating. I'm operating on proven.
Okay, I'm gonna do. Okay, do we have like? I don't know.
You know what sucks about this? About ranking
the Jeopardy
Microsoft
portion? What's that?
Is that we've got studios like Mojang. I'm not gonna say they're the best or anything else, but Lord knows they're ranking in and a good bit.
Oh my goodness. This one.
This is hard.
You want me to start?
Yeah,
go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Okay,
this is hard.
This is extremely hard, and there's going to be people. It's going to be people who disagree vehemently with this. I can't say that word.
Vehement.
So I would argue that Bethesda Softworks is number one.
Yes. Same. Sorry.
Which one do they make in the Bethesda pantheon?
Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and Starfield, of course. I would argue they're number one because if you're talking about potential impact, new impact to Xbox, Bethesda Softworks is your king. Because Starfield, there is so much riding on Starfield. I know we've talked about this before, but that game has the potential to be the next Skyrim. I know that word's always thrown out there, but some people anyway, don't recognize how important Skyrim is in the industry. It is one of the greatest selling games of all time. It's one of the most recognized games of all time. It's one of the most celebrated games of all time. And if Starfield can even capture a percentage of that, it will be a game changer for the Xbox brand, period. Because it'll be the first time that a game of that level, that is a cross-platform Bethesda Softworks full RPG experience, is simply not available on other consoles, which is weird to think about. But it has that level of impact and it has that capability. Whether or not it'll hit it is up for debate across the industry, I realize. But I think that if you want to know how big this game is, one, it was the number one bargaining token for the acquisition, right? And it was also widely rumored and pretty well verified that PlayStation was trying to secure exclusivity for Starfield on their own platform. You don't do that. You don't have two of the biggest console publishers, the two biggest console publishers, fighting over you for one IP if it's not going to be a game changer. So anyway, I think Bethesda Soft has to be number one. They just have power in the industry that I think few recognize. And I think remember you were talking about something that's huge but feels niche. If you're not in the Bethesda kind of community that includes Elder Scrolls and Fallout, you don't realize how influential it is. It is huge. Like when I first went to E3, and not to get us too off track here, but I went to the Bethesda conference, right? And I'm thinking to myself, cool, Bethesda, they make some fun games.
I went in there I was there too.
Yeah, and check it out and stuff. There's people who are maniacs for Bethesda. They buy all their merch. They dress up like them. There's a huge PC modding community behind Bethesda software games. I mean, it is massive. YouTube communities and Discord communities. And so anyway, I think if you're talking about impact for Xbox brand, Bethesda Soft has to be number one.
Okay, let me throw an argument and Joe defend this one. Defend his pick is what I'm going to ask you to do.
Okay.
Bethesda Soft games are notoriously buggy, and that studio makes a consistent habit of re-releasing games onto multiple platforms, and seemingly it's like they want credit for it, right? The joke is that Skyrim is everywhere. Fallout launched to a mess. Fallout 76 did. Fallout 4 did. Fallout 4 is more just 3 upscaled. I'm speaking.
But see,
anecdote. I don't.
Yeah, you're saying that, right?
Correct.
You don't understand how big Fallout 4 is in the community.
Correct. Yes. And so knowing those things, does Ains have a leg to stand on though, given their quality?
I mean, listen, I may not see what you see in Starfield, friends. But I am not going to, and I may not see really much of Bethesda Softworks.
Not to interrupt you, Joe. Fallout 4 sold 12 million copies on day one.
God dang.
Nuts. Yeah.
So when you say Fallout 4 was just Fallout 3, okay, sure.
Okay.
I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to take a stand. I'm saying
shut your goddamn mouth. Let me talk. All right. I had 10 minutes of.
Take a minute.
So so no, like Fallout 4, massive, Skyrim, massive, that's great. But like, yeah, Fallout 3 was a moment in gaming. You know, Morrowind was a moment in gaming. Oh my god. Why am I blanking on the one after Morrowind?
Skyrim.
Oblivion.
No. Oblivion, thank you. Oblivion was a moment, you know, Daggerfall, all those things. Like, they were so huge and influential in their time and still are, that I think when we're talking about legacy, who has the most here? Well, it's second to who is number 2 on the list for me, and that's id Software.
Okay.
Like,
so
id has the legacy, man. It just for Doom alone,
id was my number 2.
Id just kicks ass. And I think Doom Eternal is such a success for a sequel, because it's like, hey, here's more of the thing you really loved, and we're gonna do some cool stuff with it as well. And you know, Doom 2016 is a marvelous game. It is just
it's my game of the year.
Damn good.
Mm-hmm.
And when we often think of evolution of games that are decades old, we talk about God of War, but not soon after do we then follow that up with Doom 2016. So
sorry,
Ings, did you rank id?
I'm laughing at a comment.
what was the comment? What's the comment?
So I don't have all 5 ranked yet. It is okay. It's on my list here, and I'm debating. I've only got 1 and 2 right now, and I'm debating among the others.
See, I ranked id as number 2, and Joe's like selling me on number 1. That's the problem with every single one of these now, because my Bethesda Soft, despite me not enjoying their actual titles, like I don't play Bethesda Soft games, I ranked it number 4. And because of all the things that you said, Ains, like to your point, like those games are huge. They consistently are
well, Abe's got some comments here. So top most played on Xbox, Skyrim and Fallout. Now remember, Skyrim's from 2011, right? It's 11 years old, and Fallout 4 and 3, for that matter. I mean, they're several years old as well. Fallout 3 even older. They're still in the top most played games. And they still sell. And then the point he makes, which is many people have made about Bethesda, is there's no other Bethesda likes in the industry. There's no people making a game comparable to Fallout 4 or 3 and Skyrim. Like, there's no game like that. And I think that's why when Starfield comes out, even if it's buggy, even if people are, there's going to be plenty of people disappointed in it. I think it's going to be a game-changing moment, because there will be that community of millions of people that just realize that it's a game that can't be matched.
Is it a next-gen exclusive?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm curious if it will match that 12 million day one type thing, because of how many Xbox Series X's are available. PC, there's PC.
Sure. PC is going to be the bulk. No PlayStation definitely changes that. Now,
Well, Xbox... that's because PlayStation is dead.
Oh, that's right. Dang.
But see, what Xbox will announce is players. They're not going to announce sales. You'll know sales from Steam charts and things like that, but they're going to announce players, because this is their Game Pass monster for first half of next year.
That's right.
So ID, I don't know. ID, I'm
not even top 5.
No. I was gonna say I don't know if I could put them as high as number 2. That's really high.
Wow. What did they make?
Like I like what
I know.
Doom.
But I like what Obi said prior. Is like their tech as well is just phenomenal. Like
ID tech is
I mean, so I think just off their tools and their games, they deserve that at least top 5. But and I'm also thinking about the games I legitimately love, which is again Doom 2016, Doom 28.
Amazing games. And they definitely, Doom holds a lot of weight, right? It's just a name. Hell, I built my first PC ever in my life to play Doom, the original Doom. We're going back a long ways. Doom is very meaningful to me, but we're talking
take nothing away from Doom. Reinvented itself at least 2 times over. Doom 3 was a pure horror game.
Yeah, it's crazy,
and it was incredibly good. It was a benchmark for PCs. Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, to your point, Joe, reinvented Doom yet again. And then within there, Doom 64 was kind of its own thing. It's still kind of classic, but a little bit kind of different. They had all the Doom, like Final Doom and the Lost Levels, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's a legacy there that if we were to catapult Naughty Dog up with such zeal, I think the case for id being top few is clear.
How many games are just inspired by Doom, classic Doom gameplay? And like, shout out to the game that is actually better than Doom, but nobody is brave enough to say it. Star Wars Dark Forces slapped so hard, guys.
It was fun.
So hard. It's
this
so good.
This is where the IP bias starts to bleed in.
It was cool.
It was the Doom I was allowed to play as a kid. You know?
The only hard thing here, right, is you're talking about 23 studios. This is before Activision Blizzard, right? We know how big Xbox is now. Right. 23 studios. Many with a history and a current impact. And does ID or id, do they still have that same level of impact as you look to the next few years? See, I'm kind of looking.
id Tech, Doom Eternal. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me a game.
Audience, I'm yelling with you
right now.
They were all. It was all proprietary until Xbox acquired them.
No. That's not the question I asked. I said name a game that is currently being developed on id Tech.
I have no idea if any of the internals are.
That's the point.
But that's
id Tech is great for Doom, right? It's an amazing engine, and we know the tech behind. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying that if you're looking at what we know, we don't know another Doom is in development right now. You would assume it is because of the success of 2016 and Eternal, but we don't know what's in development, and we don't know what first-party IPs or Xbox in general, XGS, is even doing with id Tech.
Machine Games uses id Tech. Is that correct?
I think they do for Wolfenstein, yes.
Yeah, so it's possible that they're using it. And I can tell you what, if we found out tomorrow that any of these studios that are available to us were making like a Gears of War with id Tech or something, we'd all lose it. I think id Tech is special, but it was proprietary, and that's why it didn't make its way through the industry. It's not like Unreal or
big time. Yeah. I mean, you had some of the greatest minds ever in gaming create id Tech. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I was just trying to think of, okay, what impact do I know is coming, right? There's nothing revealed from it at this point that I'm getting excited about, unless, of course, we know they're making another Doom, which, of course, I would love. But, yeah, that's all. And by the way, Tal, chill on 343. Okay, good Lord.
Tal, they did not make top at all.
What's the question? What's he saying?
Ains, what's your top? Your second.
Give us your next one,
pick, bud.
It's hard. I honestly believe, as we look to the future, Obsidian. Obsidian has a minimum of 3 projects in the works. They have an incredible list of talent. Yeah. Well, we haven't heard anything about the 4th, but yeah.
No, I said they're my number 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a rumor they have another project. That's why I said that. We know 3. But they have an incredible list of talent there. They're growing. We know Outer Worlds was done with a limited team on a limited budget, and it was already awesome and successful. Outer Worlds 2, I expect, obviously, to just build on that, way up. We know that Avowed is going to be, well, we don't know, I'm assuming, but Avowed looks like it's going to be another AAA kind of RPG experience, and Obsidian is extremely talented in RPG narrative design. And if they can create an experience, one of the things that I personally don't like about Skyrim is that the narrative is weak as hell. Yeah, it's just not a good story. So if Avowed can even nail half of like a Skyrim-like world with magic and sorcery and everything we know about it, but have Obsidian level narrative, that's going to be a huge game. So if you look at Avowed, you look at Outer Worlds 2, the little game on the side, Pentiment coming later this year, doesn't look to be anything mind-blowing, but who knows, how it will be received. But I just think Obsidian is going to have a large level of impact over the next few years.
Yeah. I think
Abe says Obsidian was my number 2. Ains is 2 for 2. Me and Abe like this.
Oh shoot! No, and that's the thing. Like Obsidian has made some fantastic RPGs. Like I'm thinking, South Park. I'm also thinking Old Republic 2. Like they have a pedigree to them, and they have also promise, but they're not my number 2 because number 3 goes to this little ditty called Machine Games.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Machine's a
There's
good one.
a pattern here, folks. Joe really likes the Bethesda stuff.
What was your one then, Joe?
My number one was Bethesda Softworks, because they may not be my favorite, but I can't ignore the legacy. It is legacy. Now this is just my feeling in my gut, which is Machine Games. They have not missed yet.
That is the logic I used in placing Playground at number 1. Because Playground is consistently top tier quality every time. And so again, what I hate about this list, because I don't love racing games, but I love Forza Horizon, and none of the Horizons have missed.
Agree. The only reason I don't have Playground higher, and they're sitting here trying to figure out where to put them, is that they haven't proven they can make something outside of Forza Horizon yet. And I have full confidence they will, but I don't know it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, and Fable's a tough one to tackle, because you got to hit that right humor, you got to have the narrative, and people have what they think is Fable in their mind. And if you go back, those games don't hold up. I don't think they hold up in what we expect now.
And they're 3 vastly different games that had a creator for all his faults that was forward thinking. That is not there. He's not part of Playground. So we'll see. I'm hopeful that Fable's going to be amazing, but and Forza Horizon 5, I've been playing it recently with Hot Wheels, and I've reminded of just how effing incredible that game is. I mean, it's mind blowing. But
they did a disservice to that game by putting Halo so close to it.
I guess that would mean Halo's pretty good, huh? Interesting.
Sure, but the narrative wiped on Forza Horizon, which was a bummer. But to go back, I don't have Obsidian in my top 5, and I feel like I should. But that's the problem with this list. This list was harder than Sony's. And I would absolutely be swayed, because like every one of your points about Obsidian, I'm like, agree.
Yeah, I don't think there's no definitive list here, right? Like it's all opinion.
Not for this one. There was for Sony, and it was mine. So Joe, your number 3 was Machine Games. Talk to me about that choice.
Strictly for Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein 1 and Wolfenstein 2. Though 2 is a game I cannot play because spoiler alert, dog dies. I deeply admire what they've done with that series, and I'm excited for the future of the Indiana Jones game. So I think just their talent, the games that I'm into, so like their first person shooters are pretty much what I'm about. That's why I'm going Machine Games number 3.
Even knowing that they had a miss in the Wolfenstein, not New Order, not Old Colossus, not Old Blood, or New Colossus, Old Blood, New Order. There was one with the sisters.
I think wasn't that one with like Arcane? Wasn't that one not a true Machine Games game? But you're right, that is a miss nonetheless. They had
miss in the Wolfenstein category, I guess we should say.
So they had one miss, but I would say overall, fantastic studio. So I'm going to put them 3. That's all.
Cool. Ains, how about you for Machine Games? They did not rank top 5 for me.
I don't think they're top 5 for me either. I adore what they did with Wolfenstein, the remake, right? And Wolfenstein 2 in particular. I think they're amazing. I'm really excited to see what they do with Indiana Jones. It's Indiana Jones they're making, right?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what they do with that. And it kind of goes a little bit to the Playground message, which is if they do deliver Indiana Jones and it's a big AAA experience we all love, turns out like a big Uncharted, whatever it may be, right? Whatever it is, if we love it and it captures the essence of indie, my list would change, because then Machine Games will have proved themselves, and Playground will do the same if they deliver a really great Fable experience. At this point in time, I can't put them that high.
Okay. Fair enough.
Ains, did we do your number 3?
No, because I don't even know what it is yet. Do yours.
So my number 3 was Rare.
Oh, God. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Buckle in.
What are you talking about? This is, I don't understand.
Here comes the Sea of Thieves bias. It's coming. Prepare yourselves.
So here's my argument with Rare. They bring in the legacy IP with Rare. all the stuff they've done. If we're talking about things that if we're going back for Doom, then we go back for Rare. We go back for Naughty Dog. The logic is there. Rare has systemically put out great games in its early days, so much so that it was their collection of titles that piloted the backward compatibility program for Microsoft.
That's
Rare
fair.
Replay was the basis for what back compat gaming was. So we have to acknowledge that legacy. There is a certain counter argument to be made for the Xbox 360 era where they were making Kinect games. And I think that is a detriment. But if you look at the legacy and then you combine that with the success of Sea of Thieves, the incorporation of Disney IP into Sea of Thieves, the ongoing management of a live service title of Sea of Thieves, then I think Rare is proven. We're talking about proven Xbox studios, and I don't think you have a more proven one from the Xbox One era. I don't think any.
I don't know if that's a good argument you want to go with, but okay.
But it is one of the several pillars. If their work is what piloted the back compat program, their legacy is that attributed to, and they've managed to systemically bring in Disney IP with their ongoing live service title. That's something to be admired, and that does put them up there. So regardless of what you would call Sea of Thieves bias or not, it's a huge community, right? It's like that Fallout community. It's like that community that exists but doesn't necessarily intersect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I would replace Machine with Rare. Because you're right, they do have the legacy. Though those people are long gone, you can't take away from Banjo or the best Star Fox game. A wink, a nod. But like Sea of Thieves is my most played game on Xbox by far. I think it's fantastic. I think the community has its times. It has its goddamn moments.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, it's tons of guns. But like when you're talking about like God, Season Pass is actually worthwhile.
Yeah.
The cosmetics are great. Like it's microtransactions
they're not egregious or predatory.
So this is why I said the Sea of Thieves bias is coming in. Because you guys are literally speaking about features of a game you like. We're well off the course of how this impacts Xbox.
I mean,
like this is a different conversation than we've had with the other games.
This is a live service title that must be sustained in the same way we would talk about if we were bringing in none of the stuff we talked about was live service per se. Everything we talked about has been single player to this point. We've not talked about a live service. If we were to bring Halo Infinite in, we would compare it Season Pass, its microtransactions. You could do the same with Gears 5.
That's not the full picture of what the studio does for Xbox as a brand, though, which I'll talk about when I bring up 343.
Well, throw me your then Jesus.
I'm not arguing. If you guys, we said this is completely subjective, so
it's true.
But I think you've got a blueprint for a studio that has figured it out, doesn't egregiously take advantage of its players financially.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying Sea of Thieves does those things well. What I'm saying is that the community may enjoy that. How big of an impact does that have for Xbox as a brand?
Okay, I see your
not
point.
Very big.
You could also say the same with Mojang. They too have figured it out. Like in terms of like
they don't impact Xbox, Microsoft. But
Microsoft as a whole,
Xbox has a mind share. Like, what do you see? Ains, I feel like you have dual logic right now because
let's figure this out, guys.
Xbox and Microsoft. Like, I acknowledge that we're talking about Microsoft games, right? But Minecraft isn't thought of in the Xbox realm. You don't see Minecraft at your Target or Toys R Us or whatever. They don't make Toys R Us, but
okay. So
think Xbox.
You guys are thinking about mindshare, which in itself is anecdotal because you're not going to pull out any statistics that tell me statistically about mindshare because they don't exist.
Our thumbnail is our favorite Xbox titles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's your favorite, that's why I said the list is subjective. So if this is your third favorite,
it's not my favorite. Just to be clear,
that's what I don't like about this. This is why I asked at the beginning. I said, "Are we doing favorite?" And you said no. We can check the tape.
Yeah,
you're right. I don't.
He's yelling.
I don't like when things change. So this is why I asked at the start, "Are we doing favorite?" You specifically said no. So if we're not doing favorite, then we're talking about value to the organization.
Yes, that is what we were talking about. That is what we were talking about.
And we're arguing, well, and I'm just like, again,
and if you're arguing Rare is the third most valuable studio to Xbox as an organization, you can do that. I would just disagree violently.
Well, I would say, like, and I'm just, again, devil's advocate. I have no voice in this race, but like Mojang's pretty goddamn valuable to that organization. They're
literally the second most valuable IP. They could be number one.
Yeah, so like, why wouldn't we put them in one of these studios for being a good?
I was going to mention Mojang.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm just saying.
Well, you have,
so you're right.
No, but I was no. I'm saying that again. If this is a mix, right? If this is a mix of kind of impact and favorite and design and what you if you mix all those things together and you're saying Rare is up there for me, that's fine.
I just don't feel like
be careful how we define it. That's all.
That is fair. And that is a very good point. And my example of favorite with our thumbnail is a bad one. That was just me in the moment. But I don't think that Xbox and Mojang are hand in hand. You know, I just don't feel that. I don't get that sense. Maybe it's because
again, that's anecdotal, right? That's a feeling you get. It doesn't speak to how profitable or how impactful Minecraft is to the global gaming community.
No, so
I agree with you because Minecraft doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care about it. But
so I'll loop back to just rekindle my last thoughts on Rare. The legacy is there. The proven capability in an old generation is there, and in the modern generation, they propped the Xbox One up and kept it alive when others failed it. And when it went to PC, it was big news and brought in a huge influx. It helped pilot a lot of crossplay initiatives. I think they really handled live service season passes well, ongoing content well, in a way that we'd not seen before from a AAA first-party IP. I don't think we'd gotten that from Nintendo. I don't think we'd gotten that from Sony. I think Rare did that for Xbox in a way that had not been done in AAA first-party titles. And so it's a smaller team than you would think, which kind of pains me to say. But they also figured out, this is one other thing, I'm sorry, in that hat, they figured out simultaneous teams, having a team working 3 months out, 6 months out, 9 months out. They figured that out for content delivery. They did. That is a huge program that I wish more studios and Microsoft would adopt. And I'm sure that is a thing behind the scenes that's and isn't happening. But that's why I think
we've talked about that too. I mean, Sea of Thieves didn't launch that way.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got there, and Rare's done an excellent job in that regard. And I think we all hope that other studios, including 343, are going to get there as well. For sure. I agree with that.
So, yeah. So putting that one in, those are my top 3 so far on this weird list that I could easily go mix it all up and still.
I still don't have a third. I don't know where to go.
I don't think
I'll just pick one.
Just pick one, man. Come on.
I'll just pick one. I was going to mention Mojang just because of their impact, but Abe mentioned a good point too. It's the most valuable IP, but I'm not sure I'd say Mojang is his top studio, which is fair. Perfectly fair. I don't know. I'm torn between 2 for my third, and they may surprise you a little bit. I'm torn between Arcane and the Coalition. And the reason, I'll give a couple reasons between these two real quick. So Arcane, I think in general, creates very unique IPs. They have 2 studios, right, they work in kind of parallel to create games on a more consistent release basis. They're generally very highly regarded games. So if you look at the critical reception of Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop, and then obviously we have Redfall coming up. Those are very highly critically acclaimed games. And I think they're unique in the space and they have an audience all to themselves. I think the counterpoint to Arcane is that even being critically acclaimed, games don't necessarily sell the best. So it depends, again, what you're talking about here in terms of, is it the most valuable studio to Xbox? Probably not, but it plays a role, I think, in that conversation. Coalition, I would say I have them up there. Not necessarily because of Gears of War. I think if you look at Gears of War and what they've done and kind of the impact of that franchise as a whole, Obviously, it began with Epic, so that's a whole different conversation. But Coalition, Gears is still a huge IP, and I know it's not at its peak right now, and I know, that some of the complaints about it, almost similar to Halo in some ways, but Gears is a very big IP, and when I talk about a big IP, I'm talking about kind of impact from a brand, right? So there's Gears and the game and the multiplayer and everything that goes with that, right? Then there's Gears novels, there's Gears comic books, there's Gears merch. There's lots of things that Gears kind of does as a brand, again, similar to Halo, but smaller, that are important. And I think that the time they're taking to what is likely going to reinvent Gears with whatever Gear 6 ends up being, right? Because they're taking their good time to do that. And this other new IP that they're working on, which is something apparently completely different outside of it, could be a very big thing for Xbox. Conversation that you guys had about their tech. Gears or the Coalition is probably the most familiar with the Unreal Engine of any studio under the Xbox brand. And they help drive the technology advancements with that engine for Xbox Game Studios. Gears 5 is unbelievable in terms of their advancements and how they've modernized that engine. And they are a leading partner in developing Unreal 5. So they're going to be at the forefront of what is developed on Unreal 5 for Xbox Game Studios. So I think that plays a very big part in what's coming down the line.
Joe, you're muted, bud. I don't hear Joe. Do you hear Joe?
No, I don't hear Joe either.
All right. Well, you figure that out, Joe. I would argue
a lot of issues tonight.
The Coalition, in terms of a game.
Yes.
Yes. That'd be quiet.
Yeah.
The Coalition, in terms of game, they've only produced 3 games: Gears 4, 5, and Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. And they had a hand in tactics, of course, if you want to count that to a degree.
It's stretched, but I grant you.
Yeah.
To me,
they didn't core develop it. Yeah.
Right. To me, it's the tech stuff that you cited.
Gears pop. All right. Come on.
I liked that game.
So did I.
I liked that game a lot. I gave that game money that I shouldn't have. But I'll tell you, the tech stuff, I think, is their biggest claim to fame. I'm not sure it can bump them over some of the other choices because of the lack of proven games outside the genre. And Gears is my jam. Like, I have the statues, I have the posters. I love Gears, but I think that's a bias for me. I think I'm in a smaller category there, which is counterintuitive. Now, Joe, now that your audio is working, go ahead, bud.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to agree with Hans. Continue.
Well, no, I cut you off once your audio started working. I wanted to make sure I didn't.
Nah, the thoughts left me. Don't worry about it.
Okay, good. I did not put the Coalition in my ranking of top 5.
Okay.
I did not put them in the top 5 for me. Bethesda Soft was my 4th, which made mine so far. It was Playground, id, Rare, Bethesda Soft. So that's where I'm at there. And I'll just tell you my 5th one.
Yeah.
343, I guess.
So you want me to start in on it? So
well,
I already said it.
Did we get Joe's 4th? Did we get Joe's 4th?
No, my 4th was Obsidian. My number 5 is Playground. Because I think, I do think of, when I'm thinking of the Xbox One, I'm thinking of Playground, I'm thinking of Coalition, and I'm thinking of Rare really holding up that brand during that time. For me, I think Coalition has been the most consistent and the best shepherds of that IP. Let's bring 343 into it for a sec. They've had a really rough track record of Halos, right? You got Halo 4. It's probably the best story. Maybe
technical marvel.
Technical marvel.
Oh God, you guys are gonna have to give me like half an hour.
All right, I got it. Cool your jets, old man. Halo 5 multiplayer got better. That story, woof. Now we're having this rough patch with Infinite, and it's not. It's a rough coming along.
It's been hard to be a Halo fan, as diehard as like people like Ains and you and I are. It's been a roller coaster, is a way to put that.
It has. Yeah, I'll completely agree with that. Yep.
And I think for Coalition, it's been a smooth ride. Like Gears of War 4 was a really good reboot or jumpstart. I think Gears 5 is fantastic, and I think it's their best multiplayer. So I think they've done a great job showing or proving to the community that love of that thing, where 343 has a love, the passion, but man, the community and them just constantly butt heads. And I think when we're talking about like where Infinite is going, I hope in a better direction. I hope it gets revived, but now it's going to be entering into a holiday season where you have the reboot of, you know, Warzone and Modern Warfare. And so, and Overwatch. So it's a tough go for Halo, where I think Coalition is, they're a fantastic team, and it sucks that they're not my number 5, because it really is. Playground is fantastic. They're so good at what they do that I have no doubt in my mind that Fable's going to be great. Like, just their track record alone, every single game that they come out with is a marvel. It's a spectacle and an engineering feat. So that's why I go with number 5 being Playground. So yeah.
That's good logic.
Yep.
That's it.
I think I defended my Playground one for number 1. Ains, I put 343 at my number 5.
Okay.
Joe makes a good point about them having a tough go at it with Halo, and it's not a diss. That's a tough thing to come into. And Joe, I like your point about like 343 and Coalition both inherited their IPs. Coalition had very few bumps on the outside. I mean, Rod Ferguson left here and there, but like very few bumps. Also, far less of a reach, right? Like they didn't hit the same reach. And
sure,
I think the highs for 343 are spectacular. Halo 4's campaign, the technical achievement of getting that on Xbox 360, the turnaround and support given to the Master Chief Collection, the visuals and multiplayer of Halo 5, and the fact that Halo Infinite came out and had a good campaign. I mean,
sure,
those are some of the highs, but goodness, we've got some lows there. Ains, that was your cue, buddy.
That was your cue, Ains.
Well,
you're staring intently into our souls.
No, because I was reading through the chats to see which one we wanted to share.
Okay.
I was also going to say that I realize introspectively that when I get passionate about a subject, I get louder and I get animated. And I've talked to myself off camera about not doing that, and I realized I just did it 5 minutes ago. So I'm bringing myself
Ains,
back
we want animated Ains.
Okay,
reel it back in.
Yeah,
also, I like how you have discussions with yourself. Like,
don't we all? Don't we all?
I mean, we do. But like, I'm thinking you sitting at the dinner table, and like every family member you've ever like talked about is not real. You're just sitting in a just alone. Like, honey, you've made a great point.
Just because my family's not real, I don't think we need to discuss that.
That's a lot to unpack, dear.
Okay, so I think I have to go 4 and 5. I think Playground has to be in there. They just have to.
Yeah.
I agree with all your points about them. That Playground is everything they've made has been gold, and I have very little doubt that they won't succeed with Fable. Of course, we'll still see, but I don't know. They're just a really good studio. So when I look across the board, there's others that could go there as well. But anyway, on 343. This is such a long conversation, and I feel like I talk about it every single day because we have Halo discussions on Discord. We have them on Twitter. So I'm trying to figure out the most succinct way to make my point here. So there's a couple key points I want to make. Is that one, the nostalgic goggles that people have for Bungie are very misplaced. People forget that Bungie, to give Bungie all the credit in the world for what they created with Halo, because they've created 2 IPs that have been industry changing in Halo and Destiny. So I don't want to take anything away from the Bungie days of Halo and what Bungie did. However, let's remember that when Halo 3 came out, what other game came out in 2007? That was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. It was the last year that Halo ever led in multiplayer players. Period. It hasn't led since. The industry has evolved greatly. People also forget, because they always like to say the original trilogy, that Bungie released Halo Reach in 2010, and that game got obliterated for its multiplayer. Obliterated.
It was great.
It's so good.
That's great. You can take the goggles off now. We can have a real conversation. So
no, I like them on. I like Reach a lot.
I've always liked
it. Really
Reach.
is like.
So did I, because I like every Halo. But if you're being, again,
Halo
if we're having
4, Halo Reach, man, they're right there for the best Halos.
If we're having an honest conversation,
then I'm right.
You always think you're right, but we'll come back to that. In the Bungie forums, Bungie people were getting death threats over how bad Halo Reach's multiplayer were. The mechanics were wrong. The armor kits were wrong. It had no competitive mode to support pro play from Halo 3. Bungie effed up big time. People forget that. I don't know why it ever gets talked about, but I was there. I lived through it. I was one of the people on the Bungie forums that talked about that. So anyway, moving into 343, I think 343's got to be on this top 5. They just have to be. And the reason I say that is that regardless of where you stand on 343 taking over Halo for the past decade, right? It's generally, and remember, like, I am neck high deep in the Halo community, right? This is what I talk about on a daily basis. Halo 4's campaign is generally regarded as one of the best, if not the best, Halo campaigns. Period. Halo 5 multiplayer at the time before Infinite was generally considered, you'll see the Halo 3 stands and Halo 2 stands pop up here. But in the modern era, Halo 5 multiplayer was considered kind of peak, right? Now you have Infinite, which, again, from a mechanic standpoint, the live service we'll get to, from a mechanic standpoint, is widely regarded as potentially the best Halo's ever felt, period, mechanically, right? So what you're telling me is they took over this franchise that has millions and tens of millions of eyes on it and expectations on it, and that changed the industry, and they created the best campaign and they created the best multiplayer. That's what you're telling me within this IP, right? So let's also remember that Halo Infinite just launched in December, right? The multiplayer and the campaign were widely received well, right? 87 Metacritic, like I said, 1 point off of Horizon Forbidden West, which is considered some stellar AAA game. Okay, so it's Halo Infinite then, by the same measure, right? Now, where you have to take that now, where your complaints are, and I think where most of the complaints are, is scope, right? Scope of the game. So there's an expectation for Halo to deliver on a wider scope than any other game in the industry. And I think we've had this conversation, right?
Yep.
So I'll challenge anyone, chat or you guys, to name a game that has a broader scope of expectation than Halo.
Well, I want to know, OBM cited that earlier when he was talking about our comparisons with Coalition, that Coalition didn't have to deliver on multiple fronts the way 343 did. Because you have Forge, you have multiplayer, you got single player. Within multiplayer, I think you could also argue competitive and casual, because I didn't give a damn about
absolutely HCS is a huge undertaking.
But yeah, and I didn't care at all about Halo Reach's competitive or whatever. I just had fun with that game. I just played.
So did I led it.
You know.
So we all agree it's not even in the top 5, right?
And it's the first open world Halo too. On a new engine. So I'll even challenge you this. Name another company that developed an engine for their AAA game in recent years.
I don't think you can, or I don't think that's a good leg to stand on, Ains, because Slipstream is an unproven engine. They didn't showcase it. They didn't.
How is it? How is it unproven? It has a campaign that has an 87 Metacritic.
Because within Halo Infinite, there are clearly sections where things are chopped out, where you can't get to it, where you are very limited in what they could do. They couldn't even, and stick with me, man, I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
But we don't get to celebrate on this triumphant level Slipstream when campaign co-op has been the talking point that it is. We don't get to celebrate the Slipstream engine when Forge doesn't launch with it. This creator tool.
That's development scope, though. That's not got nothing to do with the engine.
The engine,
but we haven't seen
we haven't seen it on display.
We haven't seen these bastards hit 90 yet. Is what Luke's trying to say, and Luke doesn't get that reference because he's not a Back to the Future fan. God, that sucks.
But
we
how
haven't
can
seen
you
it
not be a
all.
Back to the Future fan? That's a bigger topic than
because he doesn't like time travel. It's really awful. He's really awful.
But there was nothing in the Halo Infinite campaign that you could section out and cite as this being the peak of visuals, the peak of AI, the peak of gameplay. There's all great stuff, but like you can't section anything out. You could section out a Ghost of Tsushima sliver of something and see visuals that are just top tier. See something in there with AI mechanics. You can't do that with Infinite. And don't get it twisted. You know that is one of my favorite games of all time. I love Halo Infinite. Okay. I've spent egregious amounts of money on it, but
so if we could take the goggles off of Halo Infinite for just a second.
There it is.
Let's just be realistic here. We're really, I don't know if the bleep button works, but I'm gonna try it. We're really this game, and it's alarming. It's fine. It's a great game. I think Halo Infinite's a great game.
So
it's great.
Okay. So
but it has a lot of problems. And I think when we take a look at 343, the argument is they either nail it in one part, they don't in the other. That's the argument. So like you're right, Coalition, doesn't have the scope that Halo has to hit. Yeah. But they also, I would say, don't, how can I say this? Promise what they can't deliver. Right? Like they don't oversell.
This is the point. We just said so, but you said they hit one or not the other, right? Halo Infinite's campaign, and I know
I don't think it's that great, guys. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think
I don't
fantastic.
But again, you're in the minority there.
Okay, I'm just personal thought. It's all right.
This is where I struggle. We don't have to stay on this forever because I know like I said, we could talk about this for now.
We could.
This is where I struggle, right? Why is it when we talk about Halo, it's I don't think this is good. And when we talk about other games, it's like, oh, but it's really well received. Halo Infinite
it's true.
Has an 87 Metacritic. I'll keep saying it. It's very critically acclaimed. How are you guys saying it hasn't delivered?
I don't think it did anything. No, we're saying it didn't deliver on something new. You're talking about the slip space engine was the question that you posed to me.
Well, I didn't get to finish my point because you made a ridiculous one by comparing it to Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I even thought that was ridiculous.
Did you guys think it was bad?
I can't even.
Yeah,
we have to talk offline about how bad that was.
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah,
sorry, I was trying to make a point. Maybe I just missed it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
No, but my point being is,
I got a cool Halo watch.
So anyway, let's close out. I think the complaints are valid when it comes to live service delivery, right? And we talked a couple weeks ago about it being apparent, which I'll agree with, which 343 seems to have some management issues, right? Like I think we all agree there. I think most people agree, even core Halo fans. That is concerning. However, it's impossible to deny how important Halo is to Xbox. Everyone knows that, right? And how big this IP is and its value. But you also have to remember, right? Like I said about Coalition, that 343 is managing Halo Infinite and what the future of that live service is for many years to come now, both campaign and multiplayer and pro in HCS. They have novels and they have books and they have endless merchandise. They now have a TV show. Halo as a value, right, to Xbox is almost unmatched. You can't really define IP value definitively, but I would say Minecraft and Halo are far away number 1 and 2 as an IP. Last that Halo was evaluated, and this is years ago, was evaluated at $6 billion. Halo as an IP. And you're talking about years ago, before TV, before all this merch, before everything else. So there are flawed things about 343. There are flawed things about Halo Infinite. Completely agree on those points, even though we may differ on some of the nuances there. But I think it's impossible to look at the future of the next few years for Xbox and just even Xbox now and not think that 343 is absolutely critical to them. Now, whether or not they're your favorite, that's a whole different conversation.
I agree with that. They are critical.
Yeah. So, and as we said a couple weeks ago when we talked about this, the next 12 months for Halo Infinite are again, critical, the same word, right? They're absolutely key to the future of that game. And if 343 doesn't prove that they can speed up content delivery and fix some of the online issues, et cetera, again, we'll have to come back and And
that's why I say, you know, as Luke's favorite idol would say, stand back, stand by for 343. Because it really is. I want to cheer for them. I want to root for them. I want them to be on my top 5 really, really bad. We got to see where they go in the next few months because it is critical.
Agree.
Really critical. So
DE brings up a point which I see others make too. And if you want to talk about the engine, is the engine critically acclaimed? Are other studios releasing press statements saying they're going to use it, or are 343 hiring to support outside studios using their engine?
Well, and that's the other thing. It's like
I don't think it's critically acclaimed.
Well, the engine released 7 months ago, so hold because we don't know how it's going to be used in first party. The other thing is,
you're saying hold as in like stand back.
Yeah, stand by and whatever the hell the phrase is. You tell me, Luke. You're the one who said it.
No, I wasn't there. You were there.
But the other point is that conversation and that comment goes back to scope. And this is where I get frustrated with people not understanding scope of a project, is that 343 built the Slipspace engine when they made this decision years ago to do this, because as they look to the future of Halo, they wanted a open world game that could support co-op, right? Which we know they're building. Did you guys try that, by the way? Co-op campaign?
What?
Co-op campaign? No. Oh man, it's a blast. We should have played it.
I'm excited for it, but I'm waiting for
release. That's fair. Yeah. But it had to do that, right? It has to support open world. It has to support live service delivery, multiplayer, both competitive, fine tuning in these sandbox worlds and sandbox editions. But it has to also support this new version of Forge, which is going to be unlike anything possibly we've ever seen in the gaming industry. There's no engine, as they looked across the industry, there's no engine that could do all those things. And that goes back to scope. That's what I'm talking about. Someone mentioned, I think it was VG mentioned Call of Duty has the same scope. No, they don't. They create a linear campaign, a very short linear campaign, multiplayer and pro league. That's not the same scope as having an open world co-op campaign. It's certainly not the same scope as supporting Forge with a custom game browser and custom game creations. It's just not the same.
Fair.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No. I think Ains, when we have this conversation again, our favorite studios, I think time will tell. Because you're right, like those little leaks we're seeing out of the Halo Forge mode is pretty crazy. Like they literally made like
Raccoon City.
They made Raccoon City, but like they literally made Call of Duty in it.
Yeah, they're
like
making
the kill streaks and all of it. Yeah, so it's like right now, no, but let's see where we're at the end of the year.
Oh, sorry, VG. VG says I didn't mention. I wasn't referring to scope. You asked if there's another game that Halo that had an in-house studio making their engine, which I think he was referring to Call of Duty. That's fair.
Yeah, fair.
Yes. Gents, I think I want to recap your 5, and then I think it's useful, particularly given the struggle of creating this list versus the Sony one. I think it'd be good to look at just projects we're excited for coming out of Xbox Studios. Can you recap for me, Joe, your top 5?
Yeah. Mine's is Bethesda Softworks at numero uno. Number 2 is id. Now number 3 is a question mark. You guys made so many good points. But Machine Games.
Okay.
Number 4, Obsidian. And then number 5, Playground and Coalition. And then here's another one. My hopes, my dreams top 5. Like the ones that I'm looking forward to in the future. Ninja Theory is number 1, Obsidian number 2, Coalition's number 3, Playground's number 4, and Machine Games is number 5.
If Ninja Theory hits Hellblade 2 like we think they're going to, and Project Mara turns out to be something extraordinary, which is what they're aiming for, if they hit those 2 things, Ninja Theory will jump up this list.
Yeah,
we'll see. I'm hopeful. This is kind of the problem with talking Xbox is we've been talking, like we said, for years now of I'm hopeful. Well, we still need to see.
Ames, recap your top 5 for me, man.
I cheated like a mother on this. I had Bethesda Soft as number 1. Obsidian is number 2. Number 3, I said, is Coalition and Arcane. So there's 2. And then I couldn't decide between Playground and 343 for 4 and 5. But those are my top 6.
Do you have any, like Joe, where you're hoping how you're hoping it pans out later on?
I actually am really hopeful for 2 studios. One I've talked about extensively, which is Compulsion. I just think they're weird. and I like weird. So if the project they've talked about has hints of BioShock and is a kind of a BioShocky adventure game, which is okay, that's not easy to create. So if they can pull it off, they'll immediately jump up. The odds are probably against them, but I'm hopeful again. And In Exile, honestly, Brian Fargo, the head of that studio, is awesome. They have incredible talent over there, and they've always been a team that creates meaningful RPGs that just didn't have the support to go big. And they're in a brand new studio. If you haven't seen their studio, look at the pictures of it. It's ridiculous. They're hiring like crazy, and they have multiple projects in the work. And Brian Fargo has already teased that this AAA RPG on Unreal 5 is going to blow people's minds. So I'm very excited to see what they bring to that.
Yeah, man. Future of Xbox is great.
To recap mine, I had Playground at number 1. Never made a bad game. I love their racing stuff. I put them above Turn 10 even at this point. Number 2 was id Software. Number 3 was Rare. Number 4, Bethesda Soft. And number 5, 343. But that list was weird. I am most hopeful to see what Obsidian and Ninja Theory do. Ninja Theory is like this is because my favorite types of games are typically third person narrative driven action games. And so Ninja Theory's Hellblade 2 has me very excited. And so I'm super stoked there. And you guys made a lot of good points about your stuff. Also, shout out to Undead Labs. I think the notoriously buggy but incredibly fun State of Decay games are just
they were
amazing.
like a mini Bethesda.
That's a really fair and good comparison, because you're right. There's so much charm that the bugs were endearing. But I really love State of Decay 2, put a lot of time into it, and I'd like to see what State of Decay 3 offers.
It's another one where, in theory, with bigger support, bigger budget, bigger staff, they should create something truly special. But that is easier said than done.
Yeah.
The other kind of crazy thing, not to keep us going, none of us even mentioned Turn 10. And Turn 10 arguably had the best presentation at the Xbox Showcase this year with what Forza Motorsport is going to be in the future.
True.
And Forza is a big brand, as we know from Horizon and just the name in general. So again, it's another one of those where if Motorsport hits like we think this reboot is really going to hit, and it has the enough of a casual presence to go with this hardcore racing community, it's going to be very big.
Yep. No, I agree. I think Turn 10 special, but because they do such a specific thing and they do it better than anybody, because I mean the conversation of Gran Turismo seems to have died pretty quickly.
It's a dead game. I hate it so much, you guys. I hate it so much. They did something with the launch. I hated it. It's awful. You take a look at the images, you put them side by side of Horizon. You can't even.
I don't even know what he's talking about. I don't know the joke. What's the joke?
It's like a PS2 game that
are we talking about GT7?
Yeah.
And I put in private chat a couple. I wanted to read off some of the lists that some people submitted. OBM, One Bad Mother, his rankings were number 1 Bethesda Softworks, number 2 Obsidian, number 3 Playground, number 4 Turn 10, and number 5 Arcane. That was interesting. And he had two racing studios in there. That was cool.
Based on consistency. I like that.
Yep, that's fair. Let's see. Tao said number 1 was Obsidian, followed by Coalition, In Exile, Playground, maybe BGS. Is that Bethesda game song?
Yep, you're getting it. Okay. You're getting it. You're on it.
Yeah. VG Docs cited Turn 10 as his number 1. Tango Gameworks as number 2. Wow.
See, as Turn 10 is number 1, right? I mean,
damn.
People hold Forza Motorsport really high. It's a big game, bigger than I think people. Again, it's one of those where if you're not in that community, you don't realize how big they are.
Niche, you might call it.
I do have 2 super chats to get to. Don't let me forget as well.
Okay. Number 4 was the Coalition, and then he cited number 5 being Rare, which is interesting. Those were the 3 that I kind of just snagged. If I missed your top 5, please put them back in, and I'll read them in before we go.
Ade just said that number 1 for him is Playground, which I think all of us said they very well could be up there.
Yeah.
You know,
that was my number 1.
We say. Oh, it was your number 1. That's right, Luke. So we got a couple super chats as well. I didn't want to miss these. They weren't super related, but Tao with the $5 super chat saying, Ains, play Monster Hunter World. Have a great show, guys. He said he had to go to work, so he'll listen to this later. So always a big shout out to Tao. He's a huge supporter of Season Gaming and Big Cast and your guys' shows and everything. So big shout out to Tao. Really good dude. And if you weren't aware, it is a very long ongoing joke in the community about me not liking Monster Hunter. And there was a debate on Discord about it today. So that's why he brought it up.
Nice.
And then Pompa in the house, $5 super chat again. Another big supporter. Guy I play Halo with all the time. Go figure. Scope. Tell him, Ains. Because him and I talk often about the scope of what 343 has to manage and create with Halo and how that plays into some of the things we just talked about. Thank you, guys.
Very cool. Gentlemen, let's take Addy put in 343 is his second, Mojang number 3, Coalition 4th, Arcane 5th. Interesting.
We did talk about all those too. In fact, I brought up Arcane for that reason. I think Arcane is up there, man. I really do. Yeah.
Honestly, Bethesda's such a great acquisition. I think if this list proves anything, Bethesda,
people were, I think we all did when we first woke up that morning and saw that, and then saw the 7 billion figure. We were like, "What in the hell just happened?" But when you took a step back and you looked at the studios, the IPs, the tech, which we talked about, we didn't even talk about Orion streaming tech, which has gone silent since they bought them. But that's playing into Xbox's cloud future as well. Engines, designers, narrative design. I mean, it's a huge boost for Xbox. Abe coming in with a late super chat as well. We'll get to One Bad Mother, $5 super chat. This is for reading all my amazing opinions. Great show, friends. Thank you, brother. You can catch Abe over at Xbox Era as well. Thank you, man.
Yep. Shout out to you, Abe. You're awesome, man.
I think you're cute.
Yeah, maybe like maybe we kiss. I don't know. It's like whatever.
RL Stein said, Joe, you can say that again. GT7 is deader than Halo.
That's right. It's dead. It sucks. I hate it so much.
Is it actually low? Like I don't know.
No, nor do I.
Yeah,
it's so hard to say, right? Because it's like when people say that, like what you'll often see is someone post like a Steam player chart, and it's like that means nothing.
Yeah,
like I mean, it means something, but not in the grand scope. And for something like Gran Turismo 7, we don't know how many people are playing that game.
And like, if you put Forza Motorsport 8 in front of me, and like a month out, and you're like, "Oh, how's it doing?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna know. I am not gonna know."
I mean, take a look at Multiverses. I got excited for a second. I was like, I need to download it on my PS5. Huge player count, but what does that mean in a month from now?
Yeah, and
great game, by the way.
It obviously doesn't count consoles, which are a huge percentage of the market, right? And you don't know what people are spending in the game. You don't know how long they're playing. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into it. I think that's why Xbox just says, "Hey, 20 million players, we're awesome," and then they shut up because, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Well.
I like PC7.
Turntables.
Good. Now the turntables. Let's see. I skipped XEP this past weekend. I enjoyed vacation with my wife, but
how dare you?
This morning, it was actually hard to skip. I'm not gonna lie. Like I felt guilty, creator's guilt, Yeah. Imposter syndrome set in, which I talked to you guys about. But
and I said feel it because it's true.
I did speak to the developers at Hero Beat Studios about the Endling Extinction is Forever. You guys remember that game with the fox? Really sad game, but really enjoyable interview this morning. That'll be up on the next XEP. And today, published over on Season Gaming website, an interview with the creative director of Skull and Bones, which I hope everybody will check out.
Oh, yes. Awesome.
In fact, the community manager liked it and I think retweeted it.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's really cool. Ains, what you got in the works, man?
I feel like you, man, too much. Like I feel guilty if I'm not getting to things. So a couple things to call out. The discussion I had with Travis on our review methodology went live for everybody. It was a week-long patron exclusive, but it's now live for everyone on the channel. You can check that out. It sounds kind of weird that we talked for 2.5 hours about reviewing video games.
Yeah.
And we even laughed about that, but we've gotten a ton of great feedback. It's already got like 30 comments. Ton of great feedback on it. And I think people are really enjoying just kind of the insight, especially considering that I review for a small indie outlet and he reviews for the biggest outlet in the world. and kind of how we approach those things. And it ties into him releasing his Xenoblade Chronicles 3 review today, which probably has millions of views already, being on IGN. I see that we got an extra super chat late here. We'll get to that in a second. We also we are also doing a more content for Patreon. So if you haven't checked that out for Season Gaming, I would encourage you to do so. Got another feature going live exclusive for patrons this week. We had a Season Gaming roundtable, which we do monthly, another exclusive, and we did it on the future of live service titles this weekend. So that was a really fun conversation with some people at SG as well. So just a lot of stuff kind of out there on the channel and on the site. Like you already said, Luke, we got that interview up today, and we've got some reviews in the works as well. So just keep paying attention to SG. Appreciate you guys.
Luke, just to let you know, PlayStation doesn't talk to me ever. So, whenever you're thinking, oh, what was me? PlayStation never talks to me. They hate me.
Your show's doing great, though, man. Your
show's doing fantastic. And this week, man, we got a lot to talk about. Way too much to talk about.
$70 games.
God, I hate Twitter. It really was a mistake. Elon should have bought it and then just burned it to the ground.
Lady had a good tweet today. It's like, this is what happens when you guys don't want to pay $70 for a game or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was so
honestly
funny.
Could I give a shout out to a different podcast than the Trophy Room PlayStation podcast made by the Place for just a second?
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, don't choke over it.
I want to shout out Miles Jean-Pierre.
Yes.
And Samuel Tober, because over at Chowder Days, they actually had a great conversation.
I was on there last week and you didn't shout out shit, so I don't know what's going on right now.
Well, because you were there and it was just like, yikes. But they had a fantastic conversation about $70 games, and it was like somewhere along the lines of like, so when is the shoe gonna drop for Xbox? And then like them talking through it. It's a really great conversation. I think y'all should really check a look at. That said, though, this week's trophy room is going to be huge. We have also the Last of Us Part 1 remake giveaway. All you have to do is rate us 5 stars over on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Send us a screenshot over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter to get entered. So, yeah, that's been pretty big for us as well. So, again, that reviews really do help us out and helps this show out as well. So if you could head on over to Apple Podcasts, rate us 5 stars over there on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast service of choice. Cast Co-op right after you do that for the trophy room.
You keep like losing your breath.
I'm talking too fast. I'm tired, and I'll let you guys know why in a sec. So you know where to follow me. You know all the socials.
So I was going to say real quick too, to just build on Joe's point that, and Hogue actually says this better than I do, is that we all complain about the content we see, the nonsense that we see, right, on Twitter, on YouTube, etc. If you enjoy this stuff, right, you enjoy the more fun conversation, the more serious conversation, the more educated conversations, sharing it. It sounds stupid, right? But subscribing, liking, sharing, reviewing, those seem like little things. They seem like they're, may not make a huge difference. They make a huge difference. So if you enjoy our 3 shows, if you enjoyed Cast Co-op, just take 5 minutes, share a review, share it somewhere else, post a review, etc. It does make a huge difference. And you may underestimate how creators like us appreciate that.
I'll say as a solo, it means the freaking world.
Yeah.
It means the world when I'm telling you guys, as a solo guy who, pulls his phone up to see who's listening, when I see a review, that stuff skyrockets my confidence. And so I'm so grateful for it.
So don't send reviews over to XEP. No, seriously, go, because it's the best Xbox podcast out there. It's not even close. So
I was going to say, VG also asked, will you guys have streams this late in the future? Typically, I can't catch it live because it's too early. I'm just curious. Now, he may be referring to Big Cast because we're early. But Cast Co-op, yes, this show we're trying to do live going forward. We're trying to kind of get into a better cadence about that and be better prepared for it because it's new for us. But yes, you can expect us to have a live show usually every other either Tuesday or Thursday around this time. So if you can join us, please come and hang out. It's fun. And let me get a super chat from Eric, Mr. Game Positive, one of our season gaming contributors. He quickly threw in his list. He said, what is 5? Oh, 1 to 5. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 1 through 5.
I thought he said his number 1 studio was 5. I'm like, who's that supposed to be? But Bethesda Games Studios or Softwork, right? ID, Obsidian, Coalition, Compulsion. So pretty well in line with us until Compulsion, which I shouted out. They may be up there if they prove it with this next game. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. All right,
Well,
boys.
gents,
I think we're good.
I think we're good.
I think we should keep casting that co-op. PlayStation 6. Keep casting the co-op.
See you guys.
Nintendo's next.